We're up to the center position here in fantasy, NBA fantasy recommendations that we would suggest. As Nick alluded to, he's clearly just going for the best players in the league to pick from, which we all would agree with. But I'm going for a little bit more of a, some players that I think should really focus on and hone in on for the right pick and at the right round and at the right price, depending what sort of format you're playing for NBA fantasy. Yeah. And so I'm going to go, all right, with firstly a name that I'm sure we all know, but how many of us went out there and grabbed him is Naz Reid. Yeah, I think Naz Reid is going to have a real positive impact on fantasy this year, even more so with Cat gone. Yeah, I think he's still slated to come off the bench here. Randall will start, and Naz Reid will come off the bench in six-man role. But he won the six-man of the year last year. He puts up solid numbers off the bench, and he puts up even better numbers when he starts. Yeah, and I think it's not that far-fetched that he will start a handful of games in that sort of sense for one reason or another due to injury potentially. And he's a center that gives you threes. Yeah, he gives you threes as well. Yeah, not every center does that, right? He does a lot of little things. Maybe not as many rebounds sometimes, I think, yeah, in that sort of sense, but he does give you threes and he does give you some of these little peripheral stats that at reasonable percentages too that I think it's always nice to consider. So Naz Reid is my first name I'm going to pitch out there. I'm probably going in a little bit of a different order here because I'm not sure when you'd pick up this kid, but maybe round 4 or 5 if he's still on the board. But I'm going with Jonas Valanciunas. Yeah, I think right now it's a projected 14 and 10. Man, this guy's been doing 14 and 10 since I don't know, I can't remember, man. He's been doing 14 and 10 forever. Yeah, and
Right.
and I think that's the thing, right? And at the moment, he's projected over 50% from the field, nearly 80% from the free throw line. He does everything that you want a center to do. Yeah, what more can you complain about? And I swear, I see this guy getting added and dropped every single year from the free agency part for some reason or another. Like 14 and 10 and good percentage is not enough. I don't know, man. Maybe there's just too many centers to pick from. Yeah, but I think with now he's gone to the Wizards. That man, he's clearly a vet there that produces. And again, maybe I've talked about a whole bunch of names that maybe are good ones to look at for the first half of the season and sell high. Yeah, because again, the Wizards might be a team that shuts down some of their vets and cuts some of the minutes as they focus on their youth movement the second half of the season because no one's saying that the, the Wizards are going to be in contention for a playoff spot this year. I don't think anyone's claiming that in that sort of sense outside of Washington. Maybe that one guy that Washington fan that left a comment on our a few months ago might disagree. Please leave another comment if you're still watching, man. But obviously, that's the reality. Yeah. So maybe again, Jonas Valanciunas is a kid that you grab. Has a good first half, flip in at the new year, and I think he's going to give you the numbers that you're hoping from a center position. The third name, man, I sound so boring about this guy, but we are talking about players that we like to recommend and focus on and draft. And this guy plays SF and center. Sabonis, man. I'm going with Domantas Sabonis, man. This guy, and we've talked about him enough. I don't want to rant on about him too much, yeah. But he's Jokic light. If you can grab Jokic light in round 2 or round 3 of your draft, yeah, okay, that's a win. Yeah, and he's Jokic light at half the price. So, for example, I paid $53, I think, or so for him in our draft. Jokic went for 90. I think that's a huge value. Don't get me wrong, I love Jokic too, but at 90, I guess I don't have the budget. We had 200 to spend with for our draft and how our format was. Okay, so it was not feasible for me to necessarily land Jokic plus the other players that I got plus SGA, etc. So, you know, I if you don't land Jokic in round 1, okay, Sabonis is your next best thing. Round 2, he's not going to slip to round 3. You grab him. That's how I see Sabonis.
Yeah, a good point. It obviously threads nicely with me because it is Jokic. You take Jokic number one. That's clear. Wembanyama is obviously Wembanyama is close to straight
Sorry, Nick.
steals.
Is your suggestion that people should take Jokic? Well, you know what? Wait.
Don't get
Are you putting Wembanyama on this list too?
no. So what I'm pretending that I'm drafted for real, and
Okay.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be realistically available. So Jokic and Wembanyama in our draft,
Yep.
Wembanyama went first, right? And the reason why, and we broke this down in another
But he
video,
went for
he
less.
has,
He went for less though.
but it's the stock's potential for Wemby. So Wemby gives you almost 10 less points than Jokic and gives you significantly less assists, but gives you about the same rebounds. But it's the steals and blocks. It's huge. Wemby alone can win you a blocks week, right? But also has high turnovers, whereas Jokic is not the same in that thing. But I feel like the difference between the two of them is Jokic is proven and he is consistent. It doesn't matter who plays around Jokic, he's going to get his numbers. Wemby, on the other hand, is very up and down for you, right? So with the one pick, I go Jokic, right? That's how I view it. With the second pick, right? So, it instantly comes into, oh, who's a center? I'm looking through the list of centers. There's so many centers. You can find yourself a 10, 10, and 2 guy quite often. So how do you find a good value one? This is where Myles Turner comes in for me. Myles Turner, I feel like people forget Myles Turner's been in the league for a good while. In our draft, he went for $5. In just 27 minutes, which is surprisingly low for a guy who's still a bit young, he averages 17.7 rebounds, 2 blocks, nothing in assists, nothing in steals, low turnovers, but he also gives you threes, and that's a hard category to get from this position.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm suggesting him second is because even in round 5, some people forget that Myles Turner exists. Sometimes people's draft strategy is to go straight for the guards and the forwards, and they forget that he's actually a really solid center. And then for my last one, pretending that it's round 10 and we're at the end, I'm pitching Zach Edey. I know that there's apprehension on rookies sometimes, but I view Zach Edey as someone who played 4 years of college. So he comes in as one of those ready to play guys. He's not a 19-year-old coming out of college after 1 year and he's going to be rough. He's going to be who he is. And who he is he's going to set screens, grab rebounds, dunk the ball, and probably block some shots. His projected stats look nice, 0.7 steals, 1.6 blocks. So that's over my 2 stocks limit. But he's probably going to shoot quite well, and he's not going to do anything outside of what he's supposed to do. E.g., he's going to play his role really well, and he might average 60% field goal percentage. But he's going to be playing on a good team, and that's where people would be apprehensive because people are going to target him, or he's going to be viewed as a weak link, or Memphis is going to have expectations, and maybe they drop him after a while because they want him to be better than he is. But when you're talking about the end of the draft, he's there. I'm going to give a special shout out to someone else. If Billy Bums is watching real quick, I want to give you a little bit of a thing. You picked up Mark Williams. Mark Williams played just 19 games last season and he had a back injury.
Mm.
And he also had a tendon issue in his foot. All of that is terrifying. All of that is terrifying. But his projected stats,
Mm.
if people don't know who Mark Williams is projected to average 13.7 points, 10.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 0.9 steals, and 1.2 blocks with 1 turnover in just 29 minutes. That's because in the 19 games that he played last season, he basically averaged one less in each of those categories. He averaged 12.7 points, 9.7 rebounds, and a block, and less than a turnover. He's very exciting, but he plays on Charlotte, who we have no expectations of them. So he could be a good stats bad team guy, but also back injuries for centers are terrifying. And
I,
there's not many
I,
centers that come back from that.
I hate to read his recent news already. Williams' back has suffered a tendon strain September 28th and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So I
I know,
think
and that's the thing. But this is the thing. He will be there. That's why I'm pitching it as I feel like the suggestions that I've made across this draft, they'll be realistic. If you follow my video, if you watch my video tutorial while you're doing your draft at the same time, my names will hopefully be there. Unless someone else in your draft is watching our videos because we've made it really big and anything's possible.